And we're live. We're not live. This is recorded, everybody. Just kidding. Welcome back to the best hour of their day. I'm Jason Fernandez, the better of the two hosts of the show, taller and better looking. And I'm here with the one and only, one of my bestest friends of all time, Miss Denise Thomas. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jay. I agree you're the better looking one.
I don't think anybody can disagree with that. It's kind of a landslide there.
You are Lord Farquhar, so it's...
I've been holding off bringing that up, but I'm glad you did. So if you guys don't think he looks like Lord Farquhar, just look a little bit longer and you'll see it. You'll see the resemblance. But let's get into a little bit about you. So you're, with that accent, you're obviously from Philly.
Oh yeah, born and raised. Cool. Yeah, from England originally, but moved here about 20 years ago.
And then your background is soccer. You played a little bit of professional soccer as well.
Yeah, so that's why I came to the US. I got a scholarship to play college soccer, and I ended up staying and doing my master's degree.
What's your master's?
And then I got a job in exercise science. More importantly, what's my bachelor's in?
What is it? VCR programming? What is it?
Sociology. The study of society. Yeah.
So tell us what you think. What do you think about society? How are we doing?
Oh, we're doing great.
Yeah.
We're flawless. Yeah.
Don't look on social media, everybody. You'll get a different picture.
Yeah, no.
Cool. And then you've been on seminar staff for almost 10 years, or are you past 10 years?
No, almost. I joined in October 2010, so 9 years this October.
And then do you know roughly how many seminars you've done, level 1, level 2?
I think I'm right at 300.
Okay. Yeah, I was talking to Chuck.
I'm not at 300. Yeah, I think I'm right. Yeah.
I was talking to Chuck about 2 weeks ago, and he should be at, I think by the time this goes down, he'll be over 500, which is just crazy.
Yeah, they just announced that. He's got a lot of experience.
He's just old. Old. But yeah, what I really want to get into today with you, because this is kind of your jam, is the lesson planning. So obviously you have a lot of experience in the seminar settings, but you do kind of run a little thing on the side. I don't know, it's not a little thing. It's like it's a pretty big deal, I think, is DT lesson plans, because you've kind of found a little niche there with the lesson planning. How did that become your thing? I never asked you that before.
I don't really know how it became a thing. I just would always lesson plan before a class. And I think honestly it came from building more knowledge and realizing that not everybody needs to know everything, but then trying to figure out a system to find the right information for the class that's in front of me, or the experience level. And I think it also came down to timelines, just going over time or not filling the hour, and seeing how I could capitalize or optimize each section. And I think it just, someone would said to me once, "Oh, that's really cool. You should show people that." So then I didn't see that would be that much value. I didn't think people would be out there and they'd be like, "Oh, this really helps." So I put up one of my lesson plans on the DT lesson plan Instagram account that I made, and people really liked it. So I would just put daily lesson plans up, just your timeline and a little bit of content. And people just kept saying they really liked it. So I just kept doing that. And over time, I guess it's just grown. And I think that at times it doesn't have value, but then someone will send me a message or an email and they'll be very thankful for it. So I just keep doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. One of the most listened to episodes we've had so far is the whiteboard brief. We did I think it was 45 minutes on the whiteboard brief, and the number of people that have written into us and talked to us about the whiteboard brief or the scaling is it's a ton of people. And what's interesting that you say that is sometimes I think we forget how long we've been doing it. So we take certain things for granted from a coaching standpoint. So you assume people know, and then they don't know. Some people, there's new coaches who are just seeing those lesson plans for for the first time. And if you guys don't follow Denise on Instagram, you should, and then go to DT lesson plans on Instagram as well. And you'll see, she's got a full blown like timeline that she writes 0 to 60 minutes. And we'll dive into some of that. But I think the big takeaway, and you kind of alluded to it a minute ago, was that the lesson plans are really, they're an evaluation tool. Like it's not for you to be, it's not the lesson plan that makes you good. It does allow you to be effective. But really what it is, it's a measuring stick. Every time you write a lesson plan and then you go out there and you measure yourself against the lesson plan, it allows you to do this kind of self-evaluation of where did I lose time? Where can I be better? What was effective? What was not effective? What is my actual skill set?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's that. And it's also, it's just a baseline. So you can definitely fail from paralysis by analysis, and I've done that a lot of times. Sometimes my lesson plans look like someone threw up on them, but you can take it and make it as simple or as complex as you want, but essentially you're probably never going to follow it to a T. But what it does is it keeps you honest. And like you were saying, you can measure yourself against it. So I always know, like the way I design my lesson plans is I bookend it. So, you go, what do you need in the beginning for your introduction, which can be anywhere between 2 minutes and sometimes, honestly, 5 minutes. It depends on the complexity of the class, who's in the class, how chatty they are in the beginning. But just knowing you have that 5 minutes, it allows you to manage the community aspect as well as being like, okay, I need to get through what needs to happen. So if it's a shorter workout, less complexity, you can chat a little bit more. But every minute you go over that 5 minutes, you're eating now into the next portion. So when you know what classes you're taking or you're coaching, whether it's your morning class or your midday, you kind of know the populations that go into those and how long you need and how long you don't need. So once I've done the intro, I'll go the other way, all the way to the back end, and it will be the cool down. And I think a lot is underutilized and sometimes completely missed are cool downs, which is really unacceptable when you're obligated to give somebody a full class with a proper cool down and an assessment period and scores and then just community. So minimum 10 minutes, minimum. And then you always have that 50 minutes. So I always know when I need to start my class. So if it's a 20-minute workout, I know I'm going to need to start at the 30-minute mark, if not before, if it's not a time priority and I know someone might spill over. And after that, I take off a break, a couple of minutes. It gives me what I have in the warm-up. So I know, okay, this is how long I have for the specific. These are the priorities from like complexity to safety to time needed to load in, all the way back down to the simpler movement in the workout, which will require less time, like a burpee, even a push-up. Not important, but it only needs a little bit of time versus a squat snatch or a muscle up, let's say. And then you make your decision about your general warm-up. You just, hey, do I really have time for a general warm-up today? Or is this teaching time going to be filled with prioritizing what needs to happen in the workout? And we can go down a whole other rabbit hole of how you decide that dependent upon the class. But I think often if you don't have your timeline and your time stamps, you're kind of just shooting in the dark and things lose purpose. So I don't know if you wanted to get into that right there, but that's essentially the evaluation or the baseline.
No, I do have a question because I think you started to go into something there, which I think before we even start to get into each piece of the lesson plan is important. One of the big mistakes I see that people make is they just work left to right on the timeline. And what it does is it creates a false sense of security with regard to how much time they actually have in the hour. And I don't know if the listeners probably didn't catch on to that, but you basically take off of the time on the front and back end for the brief and the cool down. And then essentially what you said was like, you're left with a 50-minute class roughly. And then from there, do you start to, from there, once you're like, okay, now that I have 50 minutes, what's your next step? So I've taken off the pieces that I know I need on the front and back end. And then what do you do? I know how I do it, but I'm curious on how you do it.
I do it. So like you said, I took off the intro and the cool down. And I also think it's important to note here that I'm not prioritizing those two components over anything else. But if you take off your 5 minutes and your 10 minutes, that's 45 minutes for your class. Take off 5 minutes for transitions. You really only get 40 minutes in any one 60-minute class if you're doing it right. You can shave a couple of minutes here and there, but you get the point. So then I figure out the stimulus of the workout. And if it's 4 time and it's rounds, I have to figure out how long it's going to take the better athlete and how long it's going to take the newer or the slower athlete. And it's the slower athlete that I really have to consider, because I don't want to limit their intensity and their experience by trying to get them to finish at the same time as the more advanced athlete, because that's not realistic and it's probably going to be too easy. For example, if people are doing like a 3-minute Fran, that's probably not the right stimulus for a brand new athlete. I mean, you could argue, either way for that, but you get the point. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll give 10 minutes for Fran. That's going to be the top time. Doesn't mean I'm going to cap it, because we could talk a little bit more about that on capping and planning for stimulus.
Yeah.
But I know roughly 10 minutes is on the longer end, 3 minutes are there and thereabouts on the faster end. So on that timeline that we just talked about, 10 minutes at the end, 5 minutes at the beginning, I need to start this class the latest at the 40-minute mark, knowing that my fast athletes will finish in a couple of minutes, but also giving everyone else the opportunity to get a good workout in. That's what I do. If it's obviously, even if it's a time priority, it's a 10-minute AMRAP, if I know I need 10 minutes, I'm going to also allow a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah.
So I can call that the break, or, whatever you want to call it. So in a 10-minute class, I'll try to plan for 12 minutes to incorporate a little bit of a break. And I'm also okay with stealing a little bit of time from the cool down. But by little bit of time, I mean 1 or 2 minutes. I don't mean 5 minutes, because now, you know what happens at the end of it.
Yep.
You want to lay down. You just worked your butt off. And honestly, some of my most favorite moments in the gym are in the intro, when I'm chatting and fooling around and making fun of people, which I do. I never do.
No, never.
All the time. And then at the end, when I'm laying down and I crawl over to my friend and I'm like, how do you do? What do you get? And I don't want people to feel that they have to rush around and throw their equipment away. So, but anyway, I digress. A couple of minutes max.
Yeah, I like to plan
that's kind of what happens.
Yeah, in that one, I like to plan for. I'm a big fan of just sending everybody on a walk, so like not having them do. So I kind of plan it in there where like I allot 10 minutes. And one thing we've done recently with our coaching staff is I told everybody, I'm like, hey, you need to plan in your lesson plan. You need to be done at 10 till the hour. So whatever you need to do, because we got a little lazy there on the lesson plans and we started bumping, because that happens. You start getting closer and closer to the hour. It's just something that needs to be retooled. But that it's not a full 10 minutes. So it's probably closer to 7 minutes if you kind of let people walk outside and then come back in. And now I have 7 minutes for people to strip down weights, clean up, and then, that takes 3 minutes. So now I'm really down to 4 minutes of stretching at the end and kind of shooting it. And I don't think people plan for all of that. And that's when those classes run into the hour. But for the takeaway, let's talk about, I want to frame this up for everybody. So the order when you write your lesson plan is, first thing I'm going to do is plan for start and finish. The second thing you're going to put in there is the workout itself, so the stimulus of the workout. And then the third thing you're going to do is start to develop your breaks and your warm-ups around that, because those other ones are kind of fixed. I can compress or expand my warm-ups depending on what I want to do once I know how much time I have from there. So from there, let's go pick whatever workout you want or however you want to do it. But what do your general warm-ups kind of look like?
Well, that's a good question, because they change. But generally, I've recently gone back to delivering general warm-ups the way they're supposed to be delivered, to prime the system, take the body through full range of motion, get the heart rate high, get the blood flow increasing. And I think for a while I lost sight of that. And then I would have a lot of fun and steal from the client's learning experience. So right now it really, again, it depends on the length of the workout and the complexity, but it could be something like 3 minutes of 20 seconds on the bike or on the rower. Partner goes, three times through while your partner's going, you're stretching. It could be something like that. It could be jumping jacks, mountain climbers, squats, PVC work. Our gym, we don't do too much dynamic warm-ups, meaning line drills, unless I only have 3 minutes, because there's not really time to do much else. So today we did Cindy, and we actually, at the end of Cindy today, we programmed a mile run just to get ready for Murph. So we needed a little bit of time for that. And Cindy's relatively simple movements. We do a lot of pull-ups, push-ups, and squats. So really the big piece was going through range of motion and pull-up scaling and push-up scaling. So the point was, I did line drills because they were really sore from yesterday's workout and actually Friday's workout. And we're doing this podcast on a Tuesday. So yeah, so they just needed to move. Arm circles, high knees, butt kickers. But they're fun. We interact. It's about connecting and increasing the energy, but also assessing, making sure that people are not grabbing something and giving a little squint and hoping you don't see them, but you look over. And so all the while you're assessing. So it could be something as simple as a line drill, all the way to something a little longer, like a CrossFit warm-up, where we go through 3 rounds of like a squat, pull, push, hip flexion, front flexion, kind of stretch or monostructural variation. And we could graduate that across the rounds, where each round, depending on your capacity, you do something a little bit more complex until eventually, instead of doing pull-ups and push-ups, you're doing a muscle-up if you have that. And that would obviously be on a shorter workout, like a 5-minute workout, because that can take 15, 20 minutes to do. So generally speaking, we do general warm-ups.
It's funny that you bring up it's funny that you bring up the AMRAP, because I recently started doing it, and we just call them like talking warm-ups. I know why I do them. Why do you do those little AMRAPs?
For the general warm-up?
Yeah.
Because people just talk and they don't get through it. And I'm like, hey guys, what round are you on? And like, there's this one group of girls will be like, round 1. And I'll be like, what round are you on? And someone will be like, 3. And I'm like, you guys suck. You got to move, you know? So I'll be like, all right, we're going to do either 3 rounds or we're going to do 7 minutes, whichever comes first. So, you know, take your time on your first round, but let's move with haste. But it's a time management tool. And the 20 seconds on and the 30 seconds on or the minute on is just a way to keep people moving and manage the group and assessment, or else they love each other. They talk all the time. So you've got to control the beast.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's an important little nugget there for people to stay on timeline, because if you opt to go for line drills or you give somebody 3 rounds or whatever, like that is inevitably going to happen. Like somebody just takes their sweet ass time to do their line drill and everybody's waiting on them, however many line drills you're going to do. But if you do that AMRAP style, it gives them an opportunity to kind of interact a little bit, but everybody's done at the same time. You know that at 3 or at 7 minutes, we're moving on and I can stay on task. So I started playing around with that because I noticed that my line drills started to really creep to the right on the timeline. And I was like, God, I'm just burning time that I don't necessarily have here. So I kind of reverted back. And I think they're better, honestly, you know, because everybody's kind of moving at what pace is appropriate for them. Your job at that point is to just kind of prod people a little bit and be like, all right, enough. You're talking a little too much in the talking warm up. Like, start moving a little bit more here. Do you have? How frequently do you have multiple kind of lesson plans ready for the class? Do you always have that, or is that for you kind of know for the class?
Sorry, I'm plugging my phone in.
No, you're good.
Can you repeat that question, Jay? I'm sorry.
So do you on a frequent basis have like an alternative lesson plan set up?
Oh, like if the one I have is not, do I have a plan B? Are you asking?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a plan B. I just plan for the majority experience level of the class. So I guess I do have a plan B. It's called scaling. It's kind of like, hey, if you can't do this, you do this. Or if for some reason I thought that I was going to have more of an advanced level class, but it turns out that it's more like an intermediate level, I will just deviate to a simpler progression or plan and look at them and be like, okay, I wanted to do this 12-minute, really cool general warm-up that I planned. But looking at the class right now, it seems like we're going to need a little bit more time on that push press and front squat. So I'm going to cut this warm-up down in half, and I'm going to spend a little bit more time on barbell technique and then give them enough time for loading. So I guess I don't have two plans, but I have an idea of what I would do if for some reason the experience level in the class changed on me.
Yeah, I'll do that occasionally where I'll have, if it's let's say it's an Olympic lifting movement or something like that, where I maybe had a plan where I was going to get onto the PVC pipe, but I walk into the 5 p.m. class and everybody's been there for 3 years. I'll fast forward that plan and I'll be like, all right, guys, put the PVC pipes up. We're not doing those. I want to get on barbell. We're going to do a little bit more advanced complex and get to it a little bit to try to add value to those people. Or I'll go the other direction where I had something super sexy in mind, but I show up and there's 4 people that have been there a week. And then I'll dial it back a little bit. I'm like, all right, guys, grab the PVC pipe. We're going to do it this way. And I don't necessarily have like a written out alternative plan, but I do have it in mind, like what I want to do if the class is, super experienced, or we need to really kind of pump the brakes on that. So I was just curious how you do that.
Yeah, and also if the class is a little more advanced, and by advanced I mean they move well at the right speed and they can do a lot, if not all, the workouts as prescribed or really close to. I'm a big believer that fitness starts at 0. It's not just you get fit during the workout, but there's an opportunity to move. And this speaks also to like, how do you fill the hour? Well, you can do like an EMOM warm-up where on 1 minute they're biking or they're rowing for 150 calories, 200 calories. On the other minute, they're doing 6 burpee box jump overs, which is like a mini workout, but that can also be lowered down for someone that would tire out. You don't want it to be the warm-up is a workout, but I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that a warm-up is a warm-up, and we're going to do a lot of teaching in the specific portion. So they're going to be standing around and, listening for a while because it's partly like largely neurological, low intensity positions, but like the warm-up, we've got to get them going. And you can do a general warm-up, like I just stated. Another favorite of mine is, actually there's 2. There's 1 minute bike, 1 minute row, 1 minute ski erg if you have those implements, 3 rounds. You'll be warm after that.
Yeah, it's 9 minutes.
So depending. And another favorite I like, because it takes your body through full range of motion, is grab really light dumbbells. Not super light, but, light to give you a feedback. And it's a dumbbell squat clean thruster. You do 10 of those, and then you go over to the pull-up bar and you do 5 burpee pull-ups. And then you go 8, 8, 6, 6. And obviously, if you had people in your class that would be complex for them, because it's relatively complex movement, you're doing every position, you could simplify that, just like from the hang or whatever it might be. But you can assess a lot. You can assess hamstrings, knees, flexion of all the joints, pushing positions, pulling positions. So, and they're breathing heavy, and that's the point, is to get them ready. And then you can also do a little tester on the other side where you give them a quick pump before the workout. They hate it. They never want to do it. I'll say do 10 reps. They'll do 4, and the reason I know that is because I do that too. They're like, do 8 reps. I'm like, I got you. I'm doing 3. And
yeah, 1, I know a 1 is good. I'm all set.
Yeah. But, every time I do it, I feel better in the workout, because you know what it's like when you're doing a 5-rounder and you actually feel ready in the 3rd round. So I think that we've lost, I don't know about the community, but I know I lost sight for a while about what it meant to do a real good, purposeful general warm-up.
Yeah, I kind of strayed almost too far the other direction, where the general warm-up, I don't think had enough intensity, where it was too slow. there was not enough moving. So I'm trying to shift back the other direction, and I was worried about, are we mobilized enough? Which I do think that stuff is important, but if I had to pick one or the other, I'm gonna opt with something that's a little bit faster paced to get people ready to go. But I wanted to, because you mentioned it, and I think I saw this on your Instagram feed the other day. When you get to the specific warm up, I see a lot of people skip what would be considered basic movements. And did you post something the other day about it's either teaching the push up or the burpee?
Oh yeah, I did a video on the burpee.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was. Well, the burpee is a simple movement. It certainly shouldn't be prioritized over something that has load or you're putting yourself in dangerous positions. But I mean, we do a lot of burpees, and if you do a lot of burpees over time, people get like lower back stuff, or they don't put their hands in the right spot. So it's a quick 2-minute teaching point, and you'd be surprised at where people don't know how to put their feet on a burpee. Like, you've got really tall people with tight hamstrings, and they've got these tiny little narrow stances, and then they put their hands really close to their feet, and that's just a full-on crouch position where they can't breathe, and they're going through a necessary flexion of their knees and their hips. So just standing back and assessing some different techniques for the burpee, like try your feet a little bit wider, try your hands closer for some people. I'm not strong in my chest, so I want to, get my hands a little tighter into my body, or turning your hands out, and where does the hand go in relation to the shoulder? How far should the hands be in front of the feet? Can you jump out? Can you step out? Can you do a little stagger step? And if you teach it right, the members will be engaged, and it will help them. Versus just watching them. You've seen the person that shouldn't be jumping in and out the whole time, and they're dying. It's like, hey, take a breath, just step out, jump in, or jump out, step in, or step out, step in.
I think the big takeaway, and I don't know if people picked up on it there, is that when you're walking me through the burpee, what is very obvious that you're not doing is assuming that people know. And I think that's a really big mistake that coaches will make, is assume that everybody knows, the intricacies of the burpee, that should they bring their feet wide? Should they bring their feet narrow? Where should they put their hands? And I think in a really good specific warm up, you can keep people engaged while educating them at the same time and not leaving anybody out. You can touch on all those little pieces and do it fairly efficiently, and never assume that somebody knows how to do a burpee, because inevitably there's always somebody that has no idea how to do a burpee. They're just like, what's a burpee? And I'm like, man, what planet are you from? And like, that's bad on me. Like, I should just never assume that. So I think with the takeaway there is never assume, like, teach everything from the ground up. And then as you get better at it, like, and I've seen you do it and you're really efficient at it, is you just speed that up or slow it down depending on who's in the class.
Yeah, and coaches will then often come back and say, well, what about your advanced people that know what they're doing? And that's one strategy, like you said. It's like, all right, you guys get it, let's move on. But you also have to know that you're advanced, or you're more like, go-getters in the group. You better believe that they want all the strategy you're going to hand them. So if you use words like, this is really going to help in the workout, or this is how you can get through X faster, all of a sudden their ears prick up, and that's how you can grab their attention. But you cannot, if you're not going to really think about what you're doing and you're just talking to talk, you're going to lose them. And I would too be bored if someone started talking about the burpee and it had no value. So yeah, you said it there. It's like, teach it ground up, have a system. I'm big on stance grip position, and depending on who's in the class and what I've seen, what common errors I see across that class, we're like, okay, people really struggle in elbow position on the reset of the push press. They just cannot get their elbows up. Like, all right, let's do a drill today that's going to help with that. And maybe it's like, oh man, I always have these people in the class that I assume, you assume they know what shoulder width means. They don't. And even those that do sometimes forget. And just a quick reminder, but the more you belabor it, you'll lose them. So yeah, you got to move through it quick. You got to be very aware of who's in front of you.
Yeah, Jay and I talked about that recently in one of the previous episodes, about like the difference between teaching and coaching, and I forget which episode it was, but teaching is you talking, coaching is them doing and you seeing and correcting. And we want to err on the side of coaching, like, 30% teaching, 70% coaching, because people will learn by doing. So you've taken the lesson planning course, or did you write the lesson planning course?
No, I didn't write it. I've taken it though.
I think that's one of the better online courses that they offer. Like, I learned quite a bit from that course, and I've been doing this for almost 11 years. So if you guys haven't taken it, go take it. But I wasn't sure if you did that. But I do know that how long have you guys been doing so for those of you who don't know, Denise works at CrossFit Reebok 1 up in Boston, in downtown Boston now. And they have quite a few members there, but you guys also run the newest version of the coach development course. So you guys bring people in for was it 3 and 5 days?
Yeah, they can pick.
Okay. So you're kind of up there with Chuck, in my opinion, as far as like seeing the number of people kind of like in a real-time coaching environment. Like, you've seen a lot of that with the CDC, because so there's now multiple sites, but for a long time it was just you guys, right? It was you and Austin running that, correct?
Yeah, we started it at Reebok CrossFit 1. It was the coach development program, CDP, and we had it for 2-3 years, and then we pitched it to CrossFit, and CrossFit took it, and it was still just Austin and I, and then CrossFit wanted to scale it out because people traveled from all over the world to come to us. I mean, Poland, Lithuania, Germany, Argentina, Brazil. I mean, China. Sorry. They were coming from all over. So we wanted to scale it out to make it more accessible. So we opened up a course on the West Coast with Nadia Shatilia at CrossFit Belltown, who's, in my opinion, one of the best coaches out there. Certainly way qualified for doing something like this. Our gym is phenomenal, and it's a really great platform for this program. And then conversely, Drake Slatke in Germany, in Nuremberg, he's running one. Same guy, same caliber. And we also tried it in Brazil. We tried it in Australia with Matt Swift. It was harder for them to run it with their gym logistics, because it is a very demanding program on affiliates. And then we also have one in New Jersey with Kariana Ants in Morristown, and she's been doing development for a long time. So we put it all over the map as much as we could. And they do 3-day courses. Austin and I at Reebok CrossFit 1 are able to do 5-day courses because we can share the load back and forth, because it's a very demanding, very intimate. You've got to have some thick skin. You're not coming to be, patted on the back and told how great you are. It's actually quite the opposite, but it's very fair and it's very honest. And it's honestly, I think it's one of the most powerful courses outside the level 2 in terms of coaching development and feedback that I've ever been a part of. So it's cool.
Yeah. So in that, obviously I'm assuming there's got to be some pretty common themes there with regard to lesson plans. So like, what are some of the big ticket items that coaches regularly make errors on when they're doing their lesson plan? Because I've seen you guys do this. This is like full detail. You guys do an assessment on the lesson plan that they gave you. But like, what are some very common errors that coaches make when they're writing and trying to execute a lesson plan?
Well, what we've found, and we also found this in the level 2, is that trainers, they have a decent amount of knowledge. So if I was to sit down with any one of them and say, okay, give me the 5 points of performance of the squat, they could probably, they could definitely give it to me. They might and ah, but they'd be like, okay, we got the arch and we got the heels and the knees, and they get there. And they could do that for a lot of the movements. What we found was that the plans were, when we would go through, those that didn't have plans, it was easy. It was write a plan. But most people now, through DT lesson plans, through CrossFit.com, when we used to do lesson plans, people now are writing plans. So we don't see that being a common error as much, but it was in the beginning. So we're seeing that they're writing these plans, but they're having a hard time communicating or teaching, like taking their knowledge and actually make it come alive in a dynamic environment. There's a lot of instruction, it's funny you say there's a difference between teaching and coaching. There's a difference between instructing and teaching. Instruction, in my opinion, is you just telling somebody, do this. Mm-hmm. Teaching is telling them how to do this. So it would be like me saying, okay, go ahead and squat. And they squat. And again, that word assumption comes back that they know how to squat. Whereas, all right, guys, I'm going to teach you how to squat correctly. Squeeze your belly. Going over the setup. Squeeze your belly. Good. Okay. Got to keep that the whole time. Ready? Squeeze your belly. And then you just layer it in. Okay, push the hips back and then sink your hips all the way down. And you're just telling them it's what we learn at the level 2, body part direction, body part direction. And so we were seeing that they were either talking too much or not teaching enough. Talking
so
too
if they're
much
not
meaning
teaching, what were they doing?
Just telling them do this and then watching.
Got it.
So it would be like,
Calling
okay,
reps.
squat. Yeah. Okay, go. And so it was one of the other ways. It was, they weren't, when they did, they were either not saying anything, they were just saying do this, and then they would do it, or they would give them everything to do. They would like, it would be like verbal diarrhea. It'd be like, all right, you need to do blah, blah, blah. And then everyone, those that could do it would just do it, but those that couldn't would be like, wait, what? Or it was a case of they would just talk too much and not have the athletes move. So there's a bunch of different reasons, but that was one. Really, it was a teaching. The reason why teaching was an issue is because teaching, as we know, sets you up for seeing. So if they weren't asking for things, they definitely weren't looking for things. Or if they were asking for everything, they were trying to look for everything. And in turn, there would be no correcting. So on one side, it was teaching, but on the other side, it was the inability to see faults in the workout or at high speeds.
So when you're, so this, if I'm listening to this and I'm new, I'm starting to get a little anxiety because now I'm starting to understand that this is a whole nother plan within my lesson plan. So I have my plan for managing athletes and looking at movement, and I have to somehow weave that into my overall lesson plan. Have you found something, an effective means of teaching that to people when they come in? So obviously it's like, hey, you have a lesson plan, but then how do I take my plan for teaching and weave it into my lesson plan? Because if you're writing this on paper, this turns into it looks like you vomited everywhere on this piece of paper.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it actually segues nice into the specific portion of the warm-up, because during the general portion, there's relatively low commands. You're not calling reps. You're not, managing the group as much. If you're having a relaxed general warm-up, you can. But when you get into the specific portion, not only are you thinking about what to look for, but you also have to think about what the commands are to get the athlete to do it. So a command is you give a word and they do something. And in order for that to happen, you got to demo it. So we always recommend, and you know this, is demo without talking, just so they can watch what the end piece is. And then say, okay, the first progression will be, let's just say it's a push press. We're going to do a dip and hold, and everybody can benefit from the dip and hold. It doesn't matter how much weight you're putting over your head. And then you say how to do it. Okay, so you say, when I say dip and hold, you're going to push the knees forward and the hips back and drop down 2 inches. Ready, dip and hold, and stand. All right, nice. Dip and hold. Versus if you were to go out and say go for a dip and hold, it almost doesn't sound right, because that's not the action they're going. But go to me is, it assumes that they have to do something fast. I don't know. So there's like that level of, okay, commands. What am I going to say? How loud am I going to say it? How soft am I going to say it? How quick am I going to say it? How slow am I going to say it? Dip and hold. And then say, okay, next thing is going to be the dip, drive, slow, or whatever progression you want. It doesn't have to be a level 1 progression. Okay, it looks like this, demo it, and then you would say, I'm going to say go. Okay, go. And when I say go, you're going to go down, up, down, up, versus, hey, when I say go, you're going to go down, up. You know, you're not going to show them one thing, but then have a voice inflection of something that would assume speed. So it's on the lesson plan itself. I think the take home there for you is when you're deciding what your progressions are, and if you struggle with all these other things, use the level 1 progressions, or find one that you found success with before and ask yourself, when I want them to do this, what do I have to say? So that everybody does the same thing at the same time, which allows me to assess one athlete to the next, easier for me as a coach versus everyone just bobbing up and down.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's something I really harp to the coaches in our facility and coaches at the level 2 as well. In the military, we would refer to it as like command and control, and meaning when I say something very specific happens immediately after that. And if you're a coach and you're trying to assess yourself on this, it's pretty simple. When I say something, does everybody move in unison, or is everybody doing different things? You know, so I've watched numerous coaches where they're calling some piece of the progression, and half of the group is doing the full movement. The other half is doing one part of the progression, and maybe other part is doing some other part of the progression. And that just means that we didn't clearly articulate, when I say this, you're going to do this. So if you're going to try to really break it down, here's what I'm going to say, here's what you're going to do. Everybody understand? Okay, cool. And then we're going to move on. But it's amazing how efficient that can make you, because that's where you lose a lot of time. If you're talking about, you know, getting a minute here and there, well, if I have to backtrack and correct everybody and walk them through the progression again and try to get them to do it correctly, those minutes stack up. And now my, whatever it was, my 7 to 10 minute specific warm up is now 14 to 15 minutes because I just wasn't clear about what I wanted to happen.
Right. And when you go to the next progression, especially if it's not one that your members are familiar with, it's something new you're trying, you have to be in a spot where they can see you demo it, and you should do a few reps with them. I mean, I've done it multiple times. I've tried new things, and I've been walking around and I'm like, go, and one person's got the bar overhead and the other one's not pushed anything, and the other one's in a dip, and I'm like, okay, I messed this up. But it's like, all right, guys, let's go again. This is what I mean. And it was just like you said, that's an extra minute that adds on. So how you decide if a progression is going to work and if it makes sense is by practicing. I can't tell you the amount of times I've tried something new and thought, okay, I better practice this first to see if it even makes sense. And I've gone out there and I've probably removed 2 steps that were unnecessary just from running myself through it. And, you know, it's kind of like, well, thank God that didn't happen in front of the class. And if it does, it does. But practicing, I think we forget sometimes that we're not supposed to have all the answers. We're going to mess up. So, and you might mess up even if you practice, but that's what we call accountability is, you know, you're not just a 60-minute coach. Even if you're a part-time coach, you're going to have to put in a little bit of time on the end of class or the beginning of class just to, you know, it's like practicing a speech, like get your, you know, say a couple of things in the mirror before you actually get out in front of people. So that helps. But the commands, like you said, that definitely will help you see and correct a lot more. And your members will get conditioned to do that as well. It makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that I don't do it so much anymore because it's just habit and we've kind of trained everybody in there. Do you, and you probably don't do it anymore, but for a while I would spend a fair amount of time planning logistics for my lesson plan.
Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that we're going into a whole nother layer of lesson planning, and a couple of things you got to think about is what's the experience level of the class? How many people not do you think will come, but that you don't think will come? So if you think 15 are going to come, plan for a class of 20. What kind of equipment do you have? And you'd think you would know this stuff because it's your own gym, but I can't tell you the amount of times that I've been tripped up by just assuming that we'd be okay. Having a plan B for the workout, like a team variation. And then also if you do a team variation, they're usually a little bit longer, so you've got to then move around your timeline. So the experience level of the class, how many people in the class, what's the space like, the weather, barbell safety, clips on the bars, bumpers on the bars, plates away from the lifting area, boxes away from under the pull-up rig, burpee box jumps. When you have to face the box, you get a big class, you got to go lateral. And it's just little things that if you think about them before, you can save time logistically. Yeah, for sure. I think that's huge, no matter how good of a coach you are.
Yeah, I did that recently where I almost made a mistake, and it was a workout, and it had deadlifts and then burpees over the bar, and it was in our North End location, which is a little bit smaller, and I think I had 15 people in the class. And for whatever reason, I got it in my head. I was like, I'm going to make this work. Like, we're going to do these burpees over the bar. Like, I just got a hair up my ass.
Ego.
Yeah, it's going to happen. We're going to do it.
Yeah.
And so as we're going through the specific warm up and we're kind of moving through it, I finally kind of checked myself via the lesson plan because I was watching it unfold, and it was just a goat rope because, again, and these are little things you think about when you're writing a lesson plan, is the difference between doing a lateral burpee next to your bar and then doing a bar facing burpee over the bar is probably something to the tune of an additional 8 feet of floor space that each athlete needs.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do that times 15, like that floor space starts to add up really quickly. And all of a sudden you're like, we don't have room for this. Like, this now becomes an unsafe environment. So right there, I just switched it. And I was like, all right, guys, we're not going to go over the bar. Just do burpees in place. That way we don't have to worry about this. And they still get the stimulus of doing a burpee. They just didn't jump over the bar. So the workout didn't really change, although it's not how it feels if you do a burpee over the bar. It feels like you're jumping over a mountain. But but that's just something to consider, is like if you start feeling like you're getting jammed up, like test it out and see what happens. Do you have what's your thought process when the athletes just start to keep walking in the door, that class, when they're just like, oh shit, like how many people are coming to this class right now? At what point do you have like a hard stop on the workout where you switch it and you change it to something else?
Well, that does happen at our gym. We have a lot of space, so we can accommodate like 20 people comfortably. But it happens with the noon class because people are coming from meetings. So we'll start with, it happened the other day, we'll start with like 5 people, and then all of a sudden we have 24 people. And we're lucky enough at our gym that we have a lot of full-time coaches, so we just call help in. But immediately all right, the plan that I had is the plan no more. This now is about giving people a good warm-up, giving them a couple of little tips here or there, making sure the room's safe, and we start the class on time and they have fun. Today, unfortunately, it's not going to be about that sexy muscle up thing that I wanted to show everybody, because now I have 10 people that actually don't have a muscle up versus 1 5 minutes ago. So now it's going to be, I'm going to call the reps. We're going to do a couple of transitions. If that's easy, we'll kick the feet out. And that's really hard. And I don't want people, it takes a long time to be able to just deviate your plan like that. But you just have to go to a very basic plan and keep people moving and make sure they're safe. And just know if you get done at the end of the workout, you've got time, you can give them that little extra technique piece. But yeah, it's just, okay, we're in plan B, as you would say, safety, logistics, timeline.
And I think it's important because having the wherewithal, and you're right, this does come with experience, but having the wherewithal that in order to facilitate the best hour of people's day, you're going to need to throw that plan out the window sometimes. You're like, all right, guys, we're not doing any of this shit. Like, grab a partner, do this. We're going to do a little partner warm up, and I'm going to change the workout just slightly. And I'm going to change how I'm going to teach it, because yes, we do want to coach and we do want to improve people's movement. But if I'm so hard-headed on that and I'm so dedicated to just like, we're going to make sure that we cover all of the points of performance at all costs, it's not fun anymore. And then it's just a really shitty class that nobody wants to be in. So there is a time to kind of throw it to the wind and just do things on the fly, but it's not as often as you think. And it should be done with a bit of caution, in my experience.
Yeah, I used to, years ago, I wouldn't plan. And I'd just step up there and I'd be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we're going to get through it. And then I started planning. And honestly, because I've planned for so many years, and I mean, I'm a planner. When a wrench gets thrown in the works, it knocks me for a loop. So it's good when things like that happen to me, because sometimes you can rely too much on the plan and you become, like you said, a little hard-headed, and it's not as fun. So there's been times where I've had to jump into coaching a class because for whatever reason the coach couldn't. And there've been some of my better classes because I relied on my experience, and I assessed the class in front of me, and I'm like, this is what they need right now, and I know how to give it to them. But that's only because I've been coaching CrossFit for 12 years, on staff for 9, but coaching it for 12. And I have that background now. But I tell you before, I couldn't rely on my experience as much because I didn't have it. And I always like to plan, but sometimes, like you said, it's okay to just go out there and have fun and keep them safe. And remember that too when you're planning, is have fun with it. It shouldn't be stressful. You need your plan out on the side. Have your plan out on the side. Look at your plan. It's not a memory game. It'd be nice if you could remember everything, but it's more important that you follow what you worked hard on. You deviate when you have to, and everyone's here to enjoy it. No one's judging. So, yeah, I definitely think sometimes it's okay to throw caution to the wind. But,
yeah, I definitely have seen more than a couple of coaches who have like their lesson plan in their pocket, and they have to take that second to get the whoopee so that they feel safe and they have it. I'm like, do it. Like, it's fine. Like, if it makes you feel confident and comfortable, just have it in your pocket. And if you forget, just look at it really quickly and move on. But as time goes on, like you said, it just becomes easier. Like I need all of about 60 seconds to look at a workout these days to come up with like a fairly detailed lesson plan in my mind about like where I want to be and when and how I want to do certain progressions and all that stuff. So I don't write them down as much as I used to, like in a formal fashion, like what you would see on your Instagram, but I'm doing them. I'm like, okay, what time do I want to start? What's the logistical hurdle that I'm going to have to deal with in this class? I like to call it, I'm always thinking +1. I'm going to have one more athlete than I have pieces of equipment. In that scenario, what would I do? It's definitely not 2 heats. That's another major mistake. We're going to run 2 heats. I'm like, the workout's 20 minutes, man. Like you literally don't have time for that. What's everybody going to do?
And members are not paying to watch other members work out.
No.
Unless it's the open. Yeah. It's like they don't want to stand there for 10 minutes.
No. And even then they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is, I'm not sure how you can answer this, but do you guys ever program like a strength plus a Metcon and then?
Oh, Jay. We had to, didn't we?
I did. The podcast just got 3 hours, everybody. This 3-hour podcast.
It did. My blood's boiling. No, I'm just kidding. The strength Met, let's just clear up what we mean by strength Metcon. We mean that there's 2-part workouts that are actually programmed where there is a strength portion followed by a workout. And the strength portion is actually a programmed strength portion. Like, it's a linear progression. It has percentages. There's a template. There's an end goal. Very effective in getting strong. I mean, it's proven and people will get strong. And we see it all the time. Followed by a Metcon, which could be anywhere between 5 minutes to 20 minutes. Austin and I asked Coach Glassman this question. What do you think about the strength Metcon phenomenon? And he said, do it once in a while, but not all the time. And that's really what we follow. We favor against it because it's a math problem. Like, mathematically speaking, in 60 minutes, you really don't have the time to run both pieces effectively. It's not a too much volume problem for the most part. It's just within the time limit that we have. Like we already talked about, you have about 45 minutes when you cut off the fat on the edge. So think about running a 5x5 back squat alongside a 15-minute AMRAP. I mean, the 5x5 back squat in itself, we talk about this at the level 1, or any 5x5 or any 7x1 or so. There's teaching in there. There's safety, there's rack etiquette, there's bailing, there's loading, there's rest periods. It takes a while. And that's the issue when cramming it into 60 minutes is that, you know, your average, and I include myself in this, your average kind of, you know, CrossFitter, their bodies over time will break down with that much rush on and over programming. If we had 90 minutes, it'd be great. It'd be awesome. We could probably get it in. But then we also have put your barbells away. Unless you're using them in the workout, and even then you're going to have to take weight off. That's all time. Then let's even say it's an 8-minute workout. I mean, there's teaching of the movements, and there's practicing the movements. There's loading the movement. There's scaling the movement. There's doing the workout itself. And the next kind of question, the next kind of comment from this would be, well, what if it's burpees and, you know, running? Well, that's great. That would be a great day to do a strength component if you wanted to do a 6-minute workout at the end, because we don't need to, not that you can't teach running mechanics. I mean, you could do a whole seminars on them, but it's not effective. And that's the criteria for which we use when we're looking at whether or not you can do something or not. It's not effective from a time standpoint, from a safety standpoint, from a teaching standpoint. Now, we did do it a couple of weeks back, and it was great, but it was the right class to do it in. We had a bike, we had burpees to a target, and we had a row. And we chose to not do much teaching on any of it, just quickly take people through it. The workout was 6 minutes to 8 minutes long, and we were done at like the 25-minute pass, 30 minutes max. We had 30 minutes left, and we did a 7x3 bench press. And it was so fun because we had 30 minutes, and we got people into teams of 3 or 4, and we did, like, you know, your conveyor belt, and they loved it. And we'll do that once in a while, but really the way that we incorporate lifting heavy into a workout day is either we'll do just a heavy day. Depending on what it is, we might have something at the end, like a burner, or we'll use something like an EMOM or just like a 10-minute period of build up to a heavy, you know, a triple power snatch. You know, like do like 3 or 4 build-ups, maybe 5. Get something heavy on the bar, and then dial the weight down for the workout. Or we'll get the workout done a little sooner, depending on who's in the class, the complexity of the movement. And we then, as soon as your workout's done, you get a 3-minute rest. And let's say the workout is 8 minutes long. All right, as soon as the workout's done, you get a 2-3-minute rest. And then you're going to have until the 20-minute mark on that clock to build up to something for, you know, a heavy rep. I don't care about your PR in. It's not about you, you know, doing your heaviest lift today, but you're going to lift under fatigue, or you're going to lift not fatigue and then do the workout under fatigue. We do it all. I think they call it variance.
Well, which was beautiful, right? So every time somebody asks me that, I think there's this misnomer that we're totally against it. And my contention is always like, no, we're not totally against it. I'm against it if you do it every single day, because that's a routine. I'm also against it if you never do it, because that's also a routine. But the big takeaway is, if you're going to do it, what basically, based on everything that you just said, is that it just requires more planning. Like, it's a more intricate lesson plan. It has to be thought out in much more detail in order to facilitate an effective class. So yeah, do it, but be really thoughtful about how you do it, because it can be fun, and it doesn't have to be, you know, herding cats. And that's the big takeaway from that is, you know, it's not that we're against it. It's awesome. Like, you should do it. And I don't think enough people do Metcon and then strength. Everybody wants to do strength and then Metcon. Do it the other way, because again, if you only do it one way, it's not variance, like you said. Yeah,
we do it all. And I think back to your question about what themes do we see in the CDP, one of them was that coaches would struggle, who were coming from affiliates that do 2-3-part workouts. They would struggle to add value to a workout that was only 10 minutes long. They wouldn't really know, you know, how to kind of navigate that. So that was an issue, at least for us at our gym. But our goal with that was to help them go back to the affiliates and coach an effective 2-3-part workout. But more often than not, it was like something's got to go, or something's got to give. And then we run into the problem of, the programmer won't change it. And, you know, and that's really a hard place to be, because you really, as a trainer, you don't always get the say in what's done. But we say to those people, go talk to the programmer and ask them, hey, if anything had to go in here for some reason, what would it be? And then would you be okay with me taking that portion out? But no, I mean, lifting heavy is awesome. I particularly don't love it as much because I get bored waiting in the rest periods, and I'm like, can we go? But then every time I do a workout,
and you're weak.
I'm weak. I'm a marathoner now. But when I do workouts that have that 125-pound barbell, I'm always like, oh, I got to get stronger. But our gym has followed the CrossFit methodology since 2010. And yes, it's taken our members longer to get stronger. I mean, right now, in the last maybe 2-3 years, we've only just started getting girls to like that 145, 155 snatch, or, you know, being able to comfortably do the 145 barbell in front squats and shoulder to overhead in 120, you know, kind of those, not by any means competitive in our sense of the word competitive, but, and we're okay with that because we're in the game of longevity, not a fast track to getting strong yesterday. We also have a majority of our membership that have been with us for 5-6+ years. They can walk on their hands, like the best of them. They can do muscle ups, they can do pistols, they can rock out chest to bars. I'm like, I even joke to our members that I need to stop coaching them because they're getting better than me and it's embarrassing. I'm like, giving you all my juju. They're good. And it's because we follow a varied program where, yeah, you might not see a snatch for another week or even longer, 10 days. But that's because we're not a snatch program. We're also not a handstand walk program. So we're very happy with the capacity of our class, but we're not the strongest gym. I mean, you put us up against other gyms, we'll probably not ever win any of the strength stuff. But as a fitness, as an overall work capacity across broad time mold domains, I'd say we're up there with some of the fitter average Joe gyms.
Yeah, and that probably happens because you come in with a lesson plan and you teach. And, you know, my big with that, and then I think we could probably end it there, but like if you're struggling, if you're a coach who's struggling with that owner or that programmer who won't change won't change the programming, there's things you can control and there's things that you can't control. Maybe you can't change the programming, but you can still write a lesson plan. So do the best with what you've got, be prepared, and the class will be better because you will be better prepared when you do that. Guys, I really hope you guys got some stuff out of this. There's a lot of knowledge bombs here that DT dropped here. Where can people find you on the social media? Because I know your Instagram game is strong.
On the webinet, my Instagram is Den Thomas 7. And my other little side hustle is DT lesson plans. But they can also go to the coach development program Instagram handle too, and Reebok CrossFit One. I run that with another couple of people, so I'm always on that. Any of those accounts really is.
And then what are you offering on DT lesson plans?
I offer, I do the Instagram, so that's just like free resources. And then I have this other little kind of teachable platform. It's like $10 a month, and I call it the Tip Tank. So it's like a school of coaching, and I'll go on there and I'll just write little tips, they're like mini articles, honestly. But I try to put them up once a week, but sometimes it's a little. I have to be inspired. I can't just go in there and write it up. And I'll put up some videos once in a while, not as many, mostly articles, but and yeah, it's just. The reason why I created that was I wanted this kind of online group of coaches that could go back and forth between each other, because you can comment on it and ask questions. And when people ask questions, other people learn. So let's just develop this little group of people that hopefully gets bigger, that they can share from each other. And it's driven by the community. I ask them, hey, what do you want to see? And then they tell me, and then I would create a post or something around it to help them. So Tim Ferriss calls it scratching your own itch.
There you go.
It's like, it could be one person signed up or it could be 1,000. It doesn't matter to me. I just like to put that out there.
That's really cool. So check it out, guys. If you guys have questions about lesson plans, there's probably no better resource than Denise. But take your level 2 if you haven't taken it. Reach out, ask questions about the CDP. Take the lesson planning course online. You can do that at home. But at the end of the day, if you want to make it the best hour of people's day, you need to have a pretty solid plan there. So, DT, thank you again. You're the best.
Thanks, Jay.
We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.